Welcome to Sex Ed with DB. I'm your host, Danielle Bezalel. Let's get into it. Welcome back to the podcast. If you love and support the work that we do, join my crew on Patreon to win amazing prizes like our adorable merch, exclusive behind-the-scenes content, private sessions with yours truly, and incredible sex toys. Go to patreon.com/sexedwithdb to join my crew. Get discounts at all of my favorite brands at sexedwithdb.com. And follow us on Instagram at sexedwithdbpodcast and on TikTok at sexedwithdb. If you want to partner with us, email us at sexedwithdb@gmail.com. Hello, dear listeners, and Happy New Year. I hope that your new year was filled with love and hugs and kisses and snuggles and fun times, some pleasure, some good food. I hope you watched good movies over the holiday break and saw some good TV shows. This has absolutely nothing to do with sex ed, but highly recommend 1899 on Netflix as a new TV show. My fiance and I watched it in 2 days. It is a phenomenal show. And if you want a little bit of fun escapism and mystery, I highly recommend that show. But I digress. Today, we're talking about body count. And the question from an anonymous listener is, does body count matter? And in short, say you got somewhere to be, you got somewhere to go. I can cut to the chase. The answer is no. Body count doesn't really matter, but it comes with some asterisks. And here's what I'll say. So with body count, right? And to be specific, right? When people are talking about body count, it's like, does the number of people you've had sex with matter? And I think like, especially for women, this is a thing where women are like embarrassed or ashamed to talk about maybe how many people they've had sex with because they're slut shamed or because they don't feel like, it's cool to have sex with a bunch of people. But for men who are kind of conditioned to be like, okay, like sex with a lot of people is the goal. Like that's what makes men like sexy and masculine. And, there's all these kind of cultural notions and things that come along with that. And if those stereotypes don't, relate to you, no worries. That's just something I think that I've thought about and reflected on in my personal experience of growing up where I grew up and in my little corner of Long Island, New York, and then Napa, California. But again, that could be very different in different cultures, different friend groups, who knows. But I do think that this idea is changing. I think that with more like sex neutrality and sex positivity, people are more likely to say like, oh, body count doesn't really matter. Like it's really just about who you want to have sex with. If you decide that you want to have sex with that person, then that is totally up to you. But here's where the asterisk comes in. I will say that if you're someone who wants to make sure that you're making an informed decision when it comes to the kind of sex that you want to be having with someone else, there are ways that it is important. Two things that I'll mention. One, if you are willing and able to get tested for STIs every time that you have a new partner, in order for you to, know your STI status, know the way that the amount of sex that you're having might be impacting other people, right? Even though it might seem like, oh, this is just our business. We don't really need to tell anybody. But in reality, if we want to protect ourselves and the people we're having sex with, it is important to know whether or not you have an STI, what that might be like if you do need to get treated for that STI. If anyone here listening has seen The Sex Lives of College Girls on HBO Max, the 3rd season recently came out, and I just binged that as well. So spoilers for season 3 ahead that I'm just going to say right now. So feel free to fast forward. But one of the characters, Leighton, is in the process of coming out and coming into her sexuality as a lesbian, or she describes herself as gay. And so she has a ton of sex with women. And there's a really amazing scene that I just want to highlight when she has a bunch of sex with a bunch of different partners, and then she ends up getting an STI. I think she gets chlamydia, if I have that right. And so she's in the doctor's office and she says this really funny thing that I thought was perfect. And kudos to the writers for making this clear. But the character Leighton says to the doctor, no, like lesbians don't get STIs. Like that's impossible. And the doctor's like, yes, they do. And I think that is a good reminder that anyone of any gender can get STIs, including women who have sex with women or people who have vulvas, who have sex with people with vulvas. And so just want to make that, yeah, super clear. But anyway, spoilers have stopped now. You can continue listening if you fast forward through that section. But yeah, so back to body count, right? So there's this notion of knowing your status and making sure that you feel comfortable with the amount of sex that you're having and how that's impacting others in regards to STIs. And when it comes to pleasure and when it comes to trust and communication, that's another thing, right? It's like, how comfortable do you feel having sex with another person? And what kind of sex is that, right? Like, there can be oral sex, there can be anal sex, there can be vaginal sex, there can be sex with fingers, there can be dry humping, there can be kissing. There's a lot of ways to describe sex, and it's not just penis, vagina sex. There are all sorts of ways. And so I really would want you to be reflecting on if you are the kind of person who really needs to trust the person that you're having sex with, whatever kind of sex that is, maybe consider whether or not it's worth having sex with them if you're not all the way there, if you don't necessarily trust them or your communication hasn't been great, or, thinking through like how to make yourself most comfortable. So those are all the caveats that I'll share. Now that the asterisks have been noted, I do want to get back to this idea of, okay, well, does it really matter how many people I have sex with? And again, the answer is no. If you are someone who really likes to express yourself sexually and really likes to get to know somebody and have sex with them on the first or second or third or beyond date, then that is your fucking prerogative. And you are totally allowed and able to do whatever feels best to you. And if you are with somebody who says, hey, like, how many people have you had sex with? Just out of curiosity. And you're like, oh, this is my number. Say it's 5, or say it's 10, or say it's 0, right? Say it's 25, say it's 50. And they judge you for that number. I think it's important that you consider, like, okay, why are you judging me for this? This is completely like my prerogative. The sexual experiences I have been, consensual, have been whatever. Maybe they haven't all been, enjoyable, as many of us who have had sex with many people know. Like, not every experience is wonderful and perfect. Far from it, especially because the first time you have sex with someone could be awkward and weird and like challenging for some people. So if you're getting hate or judgment from a new partner based on your number, like, fuck that shit. And they shouldn't be judging you for that. And in reality, like, if someone is curious about this number and you want to tell them the truth and you tell them and then they say, oh, cool, thanks for telling me, then that is someone worth, appreciating or worth, seeing how that trust is or seeing how other aspects of your relationship are, because no one should be judging you for your body count. So that being said, I hope you all have been enjoying these more sex ed episodes that we've been having every Friday. I've really been enjoying creating them. And so just a reminder, if you want to ask a question, go to our link tree in our bio of our Instagram, scroll to the bottom and click Ask a Sex Ed Question. And you can ask your own question and hopefully I can answer it for you. So once again, Happy New Year. Thank you all so much. One last plug that I'll mention is that we recently started an IG subscriber group. One fun way for me to be able to communicate with everybody and give whoever my subscribers are, access to original and unique content that no one else can see, giveaways that no one else has access to, a subscriber channel where you can ask all the questions you want and have a community. There are already 5 of us in this group. So if that's something you're interested in, please go ahead and click on the subscription button on Instagram and join us. It's $4.99 per month. And as always, those costs go to, me doing this full time, as well as my small team of people who are doing just such amazing work this season and beyond on the podcast. So love you all. Hope to see you there. Have a great rest of your weekend. Our creator, host, and executive producer is me, Danielle Bezalel, aka DB. Our co-producer and communications lead is Cathren Cohen. Our co-producer is Brian Peoples. Our social media intern is Sarah Kelly. Our music theme is by Hook Sounds. Thank you so much to our featured guests, partners, and our listeners. Want to advertise with us? Email us at sexedwithdb@gmail.com. For more sex ed content, follow us on IG at sexedwithdbpodcast and on TikTok at sexedwithdb. See you next time.